to Folly Farm, or Folly Farm Adventure Park and Zoo down in Tenby. So for this one I'm going to be chatting to zoo curator Tim, and he's going to show us some of the most endangered animals at the zoo, and also what projects Folly Farm do for them. So did you know Folly Farm is not just a zoo? They do so many projects in situ, which is in the zoo. So they do projects here, breeding them. They're part of so many breeding programs for so many different animals, but also they are part of international breeding programs, part of European ones as well, for some of the critically endangered animals they have, to hopefully help conserve them in the wild, and hopefully in some cases like the black rhino, to reintroduce them into the wilds, the young that they have here, to reintroduce them. So I'm going to be focusing on 3 animals. We're going to have the eastern bongo, the black rhino, and also the Barbary macaques. 3 of the most endangered, and 2 are critically endangered here at the zoo. So me and Tim are going to go around 2 of these different enclosures to talk to you about them, what the different ones do, and also see what else they have.
Hey, yeah.
So these are your bongos. So what type of conservation work do you do for bongos at the zoo?
Okay, so bongos, the eastern bongo we work with, critically endangered. It's a really important species for us.
Yeah.
The reason they're being lost is habitat destruction. Right. So we actually work with the local communities in Africa, in Kenya and in the area these are from, working with a conservation NGO called the Bongo Surveillance Trust.
Right.
And those guys are just monitoring the last few bongo. So there's only about 150 of these left in the wild. So critically endangered, you know, but also not as splashy as some of them sort of more obvious species.
No.
So they often get forgotten, but no, we're really committed to bongo.
Yeah.
It's an important species. They're a fantastic antelope. They're so friendly. So we're putting money back into planting trees to regrow forests, create corridors for the bongo to meet each other, because a lot of them are fragmented populations. And also just it's a massive education project, teaching the locals that these guys shouldn't be caught for food, shouldn't end up as bushmeat, and how important they are to them.
So you've got 3 here. Are they all 3 girls?
They are 3 girls, yeah. Yeah, so they're part of a European breeding program for the species.
Yeah. So
So we have 3 females: Nibbles, Athena, and Maya.
right.
I did not name them. They've come to us from Chester Zoo and from Africa Alive. Now, because they're part of a European breeding program, that means we cooperate with all the other holders within the European region to manage the genetics of these animals, make sure we're not getting problems into breeding, and making sure that we're keeping our bloodlines as good as we possibly can.
Yeah. So is it true with bongos that they can only fit through gaps as big as their horns? So
yeah, most sort of deer and antelope are designed exactly like that.
Yeah.
And bongo are particularly good at getting through small gaps, actually, because the horns are the widest part.
Right.
But actually their horns are really ingenious because they've got this curve in them. And unlike a sort of traditional deer or other antelope that has these big show-off horns or antlers, these horns actually fits that curve, fits their back.
Yeah.
So if they're going through thick trees, they can sort of duck forward and the horns fit neatly across their back,
yeah.
so they really are very streamlined and slender.
Yes, you can see the gaps on them.
Yeah, it really does sort of show the sort of how they live in the wild.
Yeah.
we've recently brought this enclosure in and redone it, so we've got a lot of waiting for our trees to grow. Right. But one day they will be walking around in the trees, but they are quite happy here in the Pembrokeshire climate.
Yeah, they look very happy. Is it true with the stripes on them that each one is a bit like a fingerprint, that all the stripes are different?
Yeah,
they're different.
Yeah, a lot of these sort of stripy animals is completely unique, and it's actually a way they identify these animals in the wild. Yeah, because they're quite shy and quite elusive. So if you catch them on a camera trap, you can identify that one by its stripes. Yeah. It's the most obvious.
Can they identify each other off the stripes, or is it more scent-based?
I think it's more scent-based, and they will communicate vocally as well. They do sort of almost bleep to each other. I don't know what the actual noise a bongo makes, but it does. There's quite a call that they do. Yeah. A series of grunts and bleeps and things. But they're deep forest, and their eyesight, I imagine, isn't great.
No, to do with shadows and.
Yeah, their hearing is exceptional.
Yeah.
So I know very much that if there's a noise, that all of a sudden they will freeze and they will look, and they will recognise it.
Got bored of their trees now.
Yeah.
They wandered off.
Such is the life of working with animals.
Hey, yeah.
I think this is Takima the female, but I can't tell from here. I don't work here up enough to find out whether this is a girl or a boy. And unless you look round, that stupid tongue, whatever it is, look at it.
Look at it. So they haven't got any teeth at all?
No, they have, but they're right back here.
Right.
So actually this front bit is just a sort of hook lip that is really soft and muscular.
I think it's Takima.
Yeah, I think it's Takima. The fact that she's so feisty. Yeah.
So that would be used for, so that sort of upper lip area would be used for sort of feeding off branches. And
Yeah, so these are also known as hook-lipped rhinos, so black rhino, hook-lipped rhino. And it's one of the distinguishing features between blacks and white rhino.
Right, okay.
So these guys have a prehensile top lip. You can see that it's completely like a finger.
Yeah.
And they use it for browsing on trees, and they're complete browsers.
Right.
Whereas the white rhinos have got a very flat face, and they're grazers.
Yeah.
And their face goes to the ground, and they just eat grass. So they've got a nice square lip, so they can get flat to the ground.
Right. So the name black rhino doesn't really. All rhinos are grey.
They're all grey, yeah. Yeah, so it comes from white rhino. It was literally a bad translation from the British, and it was actually a Dutch word for wide. It comes from weiss, and it was actually translated badly into English. So we said they're white rhinos, so the other ones must be black.
Right. There we are.
Because they're so different. So it's complete. Yeah, they're all grey.
Yeah. So with the breeding program you've got here, you've obviously got the two females and then you've got the male. They don't all live together at the same time.
No, we kind of timeshare them. So our male is actually a very, very precious male for the breeding program.
Right.
He's actually something like the 6th most important male in the world.
So he must be pretty good at what he does.
But he's never sired anything yet. Right. It's his first time at trying. So hopefully, and it's Takima, this little lady here. It's her first time too. Right. So they'll be first-time parents, which is really important for a breeding program because you then end up with a complete new gene pool. Yeah. Our other female, unfortunately, can't breed.
Right. Is she older?
Get off. She's much older. Right. But she had a few problems medically when she was little.
Right. Okay.
So she can't breed. So actually, the reason she's here is company for the female when she's not with the male.
Yeah. So even though they are sort of semi-solitary in the wild, it's better to have them as companions here.
Yeah, I mean, we used to think black rhino were very solitary creatures, and actually there was a time in zoos history where the black rhino, because it's a lot smaller, These only get up to a ton, whereas white rhinos are sort of 2.5, 3 tons, and 4 tons. These were thought of as smaller, sort of more of a city zoo rhino.
Right.
And they were thought as solitary. Nowadays, as sort of science progresses and we learn more about species, and it's really important how we're working with the wild. We now know that actually these guys aren't always solitary, and actually at night, when they're just as active as they are during the day, they tend to all congregate around waterholes, and they're quite social. And now we've got sort of better night vision equipment, and we can record at night. We can see these guys actually quite social.
Do you have night vision cameras for these guys?
We do, yeah. Here we have. You can see them actually dotted all around the enclosures. One up here. But we monitor the rhinos 24/7, so we know exactly what they're up to.
They must get on pretty well then. So there's been activity of them mating. Yeah.
So this breeding program is a really exciting one. Unlike the bongo, where we've just got females at the moment, these we do have compatible pairs. Right. So Dikima and Enclosi, we've been doing slow introductions. Obviously with the rhino it's tricky because you can't go in and separate them if it all goes wrong, so you kind of have to, there's an element of hope. Right. We use a bit of science, so we do actually monitor their poo. And we look at the hormone levels, and so we know when she's in season. And also we use visual cues. We can tell the way they react, the way they act to each other, how important it is, and we know what time we think is the best time to introduce them. Then we put them together, fingers crossed, hope. We have keepers on every exit and every entrance, so we can separate them if they run towards a gate. But they've got on really well actually. Rhino courtship involves a lot of chasing round. So actually, as a keeper, when you're used to introducing lots of animals, when you're seeing 2 tons of animal run around a field chasing each other, it's probably quite scary.
So we got one female. Is that the male over there?
I think that's the female. This is Dikima, our breeding female. That's Manyara, our non-breeding female. That's Nkosi over there, is fast asleep.
The one, the one having a nap.
It's had a busy couple of days.
Obviously they've got lots of areas that they can wallow in as well with all the mud.
Yeah, enclosure design is really important for all the animals actually, but with rhinos in particular, they need mud. It keeps the skin, keeps the parasites off them, keeps them from cracking, getting dry skin and all sorts of other problems. We need areas where we can separate them, because even though she gets on well with Nkosi now, if she's got a young calf, she might not, and we need to be able to separate him away from his calf, because that's a whole different scenario again. We need that flexibility to move them around, because our male can't go with Manyara. So we need to be able to move her into different areas. So it's important. We've also got things like the weigh scales. And we do a lot of training with the rhinos, so we actually can take blood from the rhinos without having to knock them down. They stand there for us completely voluntary, and
yes, it's probably important when it comes to doing pregnancy tests on them as well.
Yes, very much so.
Probably a bit easier.
And we try and get very hands-on with the rhinos, because actually if they're used to us touching them, if you want to ultrasound a rhino,
it's probably a lot easier.
If they just stand there for you, and we do a lot of training, and that's why things like this, the sort of just meeting them, giving them a few pellets, is really important, because actually they get to trust us. They know when the snacks are coming, they know the treats. This is a good thing, I don't have to be scared of that person. But also having other people come in, because if it's a vet coming in, they're not used to the vets as much. So we need them to be comfortable around strangers as well, so actually it's really important.
So in the wild, would any of these, if they do have young, would they go back out into the wild?
Yes, we already have a couple of programs that we're working with in situ. So at the moment we work in Africa. Our work revolves around the anti-poaching, which is the biggest problem for these guys. So we work with anti-poaching dogs. We've helped train them, and we've helped support them and fund them to go out to Africa and stop poaching through using tracker dogs and the sort of attack dogs. But as it goes on, if we are lucky enough to get a baby rhino here, A, it would be fantastic, but B, we get the option through the breeding programs to put that baby back to Africa, and there's a couple of sites. The difficult thing is monitoring once it's out in Africa, because it's a very volatile place, and it's essentially a war zone that so we need to make sure they're going back into a very safe area.
I guess national parks and things like that would probably be better options.
The national parks there are bigger than the UK, so it's fine. It's a nice option, but very much so. We have a couple of different parks that are interested in helping. I think UK zoos have actually sent 3 rhinos back, going back to Africa this year.
So how many rhinos are out in Africa before black rhinos?
These guys, you're down to less than 450, something like that now. It's a very scary number.
It's not that great.
And getting worse. And actually, within the next 10 years, it's thought that these rhinos will be extinct. In the wild.
It's not ideally you want them to breed.
Exactly. So every rhino is precious. and it's the main point of having them in captivity.
Yeah.
There's not a zookeeper alive that wouldn't rather see these guys running around Africa. But the reality is, Africa's getting a lot smaller.
Yeah.
There's less space for animals, more space for people.
Yeah.
And conflict is inevitable. And unfortunately, human greed always wins out, and the poor old rhinos take the hit.
You sort of find people want to go after such intimidating big creatures, but I guess with the horns and everything.
That horn's worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so currently it's worth much more than gold. It's about £100,000 a kilo.
Right.
And the average rhino has sort of 3 kilos on its face.
Yeah. No, you can see where people go.
When especially when local people are on such a small wage.
Yeah.
The money they're getting is still pittance to us, but actually for them it's years worth of wages.
Yeah.
So it's worth the risk often. And unfortunately, it's the criminal gangs that make the real money out.
Hey, yeah.
So we're at the Barbary Macaques, and you were saying about their history and their past with these. How many of you have got in here?
Yeah, we've got 3 in here, so we've got a male and 2 females.
Yeah.
And I think these are one of the animals I feel sort of strongest, about, because these guys all started life as wild macaques, and actually everything else in our collection has come from captive born in the zoos around Europe.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys started life in the wild, and before they were 6 months of age, they were taken for the illegal pet trade.
Right. Is that the biggest risk with the macaques?
Yeah, it's a huge risk, and they were taken for the illegal pet trade, smuggled across from Northern Africa into Europe, dispersed around Europe as pets.
Right.
Kept individually, sold as a cute baby monkey, and
babies grow up.
Yeah. And macaques are quite an aggressive, quite a large primate.
Yeah.
And the trouble is, when they reach about 2 years of age, they stop being cute and cuddly, and they start being bitey and strong and destructive and messy.
Right.
And unfortunately, at that point, a lot of these macaques either get dumped onto the streets or put into small cages.
Right.
That are nowhere near suitable for their
No.
thing. Thankfully, there is a rescue centre that we work with in Europe, who's working with all the authorities to rescue these individual macaques. They take them back to the Netherlands where they're based, rehabilitate them into little family units, and then look for responsible homes for them. So that's where these trio came from.
Right.
And actually, since they've been here, we've linked up with another partner from South Wales, actually. Lovely lady called Sian, who's set up a conservation organisation working out in Morocco.
Right.
So she's based half the time in Tredegar, half the time in the Rift Valleys in Morocco. And what they're doing out there is they're monitoring the local populations of macaques in the Rift, because populations have crashed.
Yeah.
1 in every 3rd baby was stolen from the wild
Right.
for the illegal pet trade.
There's probably not that many.
Really, numbers have dropped, and these have recently been reclassified as endangered. So it was only last year.
Right.
So the trouble with this means that the babies just are being taken before they get a chance to learn any macaque behaviours. Also, the adult macaques are persecuted. And one of the things Sian's been doing with her team out there that we've been really pushing and supporting is education of the local people, because a lot of these people are very, very poor. They live in the hills and the mountains in tiny villages. They have no access to internet or television or anything that, education wise.
So I guess the whole learning stuff then comes from communication as opposed to.
And they wake up in the morning and these monkeys are coming into their village. They're a pest. So they'll quite often set their dogs on them or beat them to get them out, because they didn't realise they were special and unique to their area. They thought everyone in the world had the same problem with monkeys coming in and attacking, and then all of a sudden now their education is being put to them, and they're realising all of a sudden these monkeys are special to them, and they should be really proud of them, and work with people and get eco-tourists in, and then actually they're starting to learn more about them.
Macaques are very intelligent as well, aren't they?
Macaques are really intelligent, A lot of the primates you find a completely different level of intelligence. Sometimes I wonder if we're the ones in charge or whether they're actually in charge. We have to spend an awful amount of time preparing their feed, to make them stimulated, to give them something to do, to replicate natural behaviour. Design is all about making it safe for the animals, but also for the public.
Yeah.
And these guys, the males, are quite dangerous animals.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is them getting out, because if I couldn't recapture them, you know, it'd be unsafe for the animals.
I guess they're so intelligent as well that if there's a slight flaw in the enclosure, they'd probably find it.
They know it. Yeah. Yeah. If you accidentally leave your dustpan and brush on the side in there when you've been cleaning out, they know it. They find it straight away.
Yeah.
They get it. They're very, very clever. But actually, that's one of the most joyous things about working with them, because they're so clever.
Yeah.
I think it brings you so much more joy working with them and setting them a puzzle to get their food out, and then watching them work it out and watching how excited they get trying to work it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the joy of the job.
So I guess you do a lot of enrichment training with them and food enrichment. Loads.
Yeah. Most of their feeds are fed to them in a sort of different kind of way to get them stimulated. We want those natural behaviours. Macaques, like a lot of primates, are really inquisitive.
Yeah.
They want to look for their food. They spend most of the day foraging for food or sitting with each other grooming, and that's what we want to stimulate here. You know, we are trying, as a responsible zoo, to try and stimulate natural behaviours in these animals. We don't want to bring up unnatural. And when you start off with monkeys that were captive for the first couple of years of their life, solitary, growing up with people and quite often fed the same food that they've been fed by the family they live with are eating, it's very difficult and very challenging to work with them to try and turn them back into monkeys that are social.
Have they worked out their hierarchy? Normally in monkeys they have that hierarchy, but being captive, have they sort of, is it ingrained in them that they have that thing?
No, there's a definite hierarchy, even though that's kind of intuition, they've got that there, they know the rules. And with these guys, Libu is actually our dominant male in the group, he's the only male, and he's a lot bigger than the others, so he's definitely running the roost. But then with macaques, it's a bit complicated when it comes to females, and there is a definite female hierarchy in the wild. And with ours, there's definitely, Vivian is definitely number 2 in this group, and poor old Layla's at the bottom. But, that could all change, because if Layla has a baby, in macaques it swaps and she becomes the most important female, so it is very much a complicated system. But,
along with monkeys, probably with macaques as well, do they all take care of that baby, so they'd all take that chance to bond with it?
Yeah, and in fact macaques as a species are very, very good at alloparenting. They work together to look after, so the males will get involved, the females will get involved, and everyone takes care of this baby. And if you have a baby, it completely changes social dynamics.
I guess it brings them closer together.
It makes this huge bonding thing, so we're desperate to have a baby in this group, because I think it would be lovely to see little baby macaques.
It'd be interesting to see how they behave with it, having not probably been brought up with a mother. Be interesting to see how they cope with it. Yeah,
we have to be very careful, because I've before working here at Folly Farm, I did work with primate rescue. Right. So I've seen, how parents can, having the baby is fairly easy, but looking after the baby is the challenge. So we might have to step in at some point. We may have to assist rear, we may have to hand rear, but in an ideal scenario, hand rear would be a last case.
Intuition should take over.
I want them to do the main work. I have worked with primates in the past where we could supplementary feed the baby. So mum would carry it round, look after it, work with it, but actually we'd have to go in and give her some food, hold on to the baby, feed baby, and then give it back after she's finished her food. So we may have to have an arrangement like that. So
I hope you enjoyed this video about some of Folly Farm's more endangered species. Hopefully I'll be doing some more with some more of their animals in the future, such as their birds and some other amazing animals they've got as well. So if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment with some of your favourite animals at Folly Farm, and I'll see if I can do some videos on them too. Again, if you want to come down to Folly Farm, it's in Pembrokeshire. They have boomerang tickets, so if you come on a Saturday for example, you've got 7 days then to come back again. Just ask for a boomerang ticket on the way out. They also do experience days, and they do sort of near the animal one, so if you want to come and meet some of the rhinos, you can do feed them and help out cleaning and experience days with the keepers, and they're an amazing way to get close to these animals as well. Also a big thank you to Tim and Emma for arranging all this as well, for me to come down and see the animals and also get really, really close with them, which was amazing. So thank you both, and hopefully see you more. You'll see more of me in Folly Farm again. So bye for now.
It's quite sad.